Welcome to the official podcast for Badin and the Secret of the Saami. On this show, we'll talk about all things relating to the revolutionary historical fiction graphic novel, Badin and the Secret of the Saami. Have you read this book? If so, we want to talk to you. Contact us through the Badin and the Secret of the Saami website, www.badinsecret.com. Support the October book tour in Sweden. Eric, the author, that's me, needs to raise 14,000 US dollars in order to pay for books and travel expenses throughout the entire month as he goes through the country talking about this graphic novel and talking about this 200-year-old Swedish legend, Badin. Every contribution will get you a free digital PDF of Badin and the Secret of the Saami. For more information and to see other rewards, go to www.gofundme.com/BadinSecret. This is the third of many podcasts that feature special people in the country of Sweden. Although outward practice of religion is not encouraged in Swedish culture, it may seem that people like Gursimer Singh are out of place. Yet when we judge people by their outward appearances, we will never understand who they really are in their heart and soul. A dark-skinned man with a turban in Europe has been stereotyped as a threat. Yet in reality, it is a symbol of a person with an aura of peace and charity. So it is for Mr. Singh, a man on a path of the fifth largest religion in the world, Sikhism. Listen to Gursimer Singh. He is a young man who does not take his life for granted and cares deeply for the Swedes of foreign backgrounds and the Saami people. Listen carefully as he describes how he grew up and how it formed him as an adult. Gursimer, could you please introduce yourself? Make sure I'm saying your name properly and tell us about what it means and your ethnic background, your Swedish identity, your purpose in life, your work. Just lay it out there to show the world, to tell the world about you as a Swede that isn't quite perceived as a Swede.
Yeah. Well, first of all, well, you said my name correctly, but many people has really hard to pronounce my name, but I'm fine when people cannot do it correctly. It's okay. I mean,
Say it
people.
again.
When I was
Pronounce your name for me again, please.
if I'm gonna pronounce my name.
Yeah, because I want to make sure I get it right.
Yeah, no, you pronounce this right. That's
I got
correct.
it right. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So basically, when I was a kid, again, many people had a difficult to say my name. So sometimes I used to get called Gurkan. In English, it means cucumber. That was my nickname. So yeah, I had lots of nicknames, and again, I'm quite used to it. I think actually most Indians are quite, not just only Indians, but I think majorly most Asians are quite, they don't mind to get. It's quite common to have a nickname because again we have quite long names, and yeah, we have some. A lot of times we have nicknames that make things easier for us as well. So, but sure, I love it when people can pronounce my name correctly. And I like that actually. My name means I. My name means in Sikhism means I believe in God. That means.
Beautiful. It's a nice name.
Yeah, and again, I'm a Sikh, and Sikhism originated from Punjab in northwest India. So there's also my backgrounds. my background is from Punjab in northwest India. My parents came into Sweden, I think it was in '92, and I was born in '95. Since I grown up, and when I was growing up here in Sweden, I I actually had to deal with lots of difficulties with my identity because again, lots of the times I was quite confused. Um, I I was actually trying so hard to find one identity. Sometimes I could, I was not sure if I was a Swede. I was not sure if I was an Indian. Because again, some of my friends were saying, "No, you're not Swede. You're Indian." But I said, "Well, I'm Swede because I'm born here." So those were like a lot of confusion for me. So I had really hard difficulty for me to. So later on, when I was growing up, I had a better self-esteem because I could create my own identity. I could proudly say I'm a Sikh and I'm a Swede. I'm proud to have my roots from Punjab. I was stopped thinking about that, about which nationality I have. I mean, I could actually adapt such questions. I mean, if I ever would go in a debate with racists or nationalists, I would probably say, yeah, heck yeah, I'm a proud Swede. Just because I'm brown doesn't mean I'm less Swede than you are. I will debate. Or otherwise, I would actually uh, talk to other youths who maybe have the same background. I will tell them, hey, you should be proud that you have a Punjabi background or a Sikh background. Why should you be ashamed of it? You should be proud of it. So you see, I can adapt many of my identities depending on the situation, and I'm finding it very comfortable. So yeah.
It's fascinating. And can you tell us what your when you grew up, what kind of how did your traditions? Because when you came to Sweden, how old were you?
Oh, I was born here.
Oh, so your parents came here. You were born here. All right,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
this is
Maybe I
great.
wasn't clear. Yeah,
This is great. So you're born in Sweden. I mean, yeah, yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
What about the traditions of your parents um, from India and the traditions that go on in Sweden? You know, midsummer and Yule and
yeah,
Påsk and all these things, right?
yeah,
The
yeah,
name days, like your birthday's on a name day or something like that. How did
yeah.
your parents and you deal with all that? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, it's a very good question actually. I would say I'm not uncomfortable with celebrating my traditions or the Swedish traditions. For example, in Sweden we have something called majbrasan. It's mean that we take lots of woods and burn it like a fire, a big fire, and that's actually almost the same, similar tradition in India actually. Forgot the name what we called it. Uh, yeah, it's basically the same principle. We take lots of woods and stuffs and burn it because it's gonna give some sort of luck for the seasoning of the farming. Uh, that is, yeah. So there's some similarities, but there's differences because again we celebrate different traditions. We celebrate Diwali, for example. There is that festival of light that is not common here in Sweden, I would say. Um, I have dealt it quite good. I never had any problems with it. Celebrating different traditions. I celebrate all kind of Swedish traditions. Perhaps not every year I do that. Um, it's not, sometimes I'm not in the mood to celebrate any kind of tradition at all. Uh, so yeah, it depends on my mood if I want to celebrate it. But I would say many people celebrate because it's fun, not because doing it as a tradition.
Yes, yes. So, in your parents, were they as adaptable as you, and flexible as you?
Not
Did you?
really, I would say actually. Um we only celebrated sometime. Well, the thing is, when I was a child, we never celebrated Christmas, for example. There's a Swedish or Western thing, you know.
Hmm.
We never celebrated Christmas for that. But later on in my adult life, sometimes we could celebrate Christmas in a way of just only giving gift and not doing the whole traditional ceremony as others do. We just only give gifts on the Christmas day.
Mm.
So that's it. And and yeah, that is also a good question because I think I'm more adapted to the Swedish traditions than my parents are. So of course, but then again, I don't always celebrate Swedish traditions. Not because I hate them or something like that. It's because well, it's I don't have time with that. I'm quite busy all the time, so you know, it's new times and many youths in Sweden doesn't have time. Actually, many youths does work on tradition days, special days, you know, because you can actually take a day off, but many of us works now. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So, did you ever experience Swedes, other Swedes, because you're a Swede,
yeah.
other Swedes try to convert you to say, "Hey, man, you ought to, you ought to leave that old Indian religion alone and come to church, accept Jesus as your savior, and so you can go to heaven when you die."
Well, yeah. Well, actually, it depends on. I would say I have one Indian friend, and he's a very close friend to me, and he's actually Hindu. And he and I actually have quite similar background and similar, you know, childhood and everything like that. The funny part is that he actually experienced lots of those things with his friends. Many of his friends was telling him, "Well, leave Hinduism, become a Muslim or Christian, for example." Uh, so yeah, that things does actually occur to some. But personally, it never happened to me. But it does happen to me when I'm outside the streets in Sweden. You know, it can happen that sometimes it's a Christian or a Muslim preacher coming forwards me and telling me, "Oh, you should accept Jesus Christ, or you should read the Quran, or whatever." And I'll be like, "Nah, thanks, it's fine." Actually, I never stop talking to them because I like to have a dialogue with them. Because sometimes I do stop and talk to them. I'm actually having a dialogue with them and telling, "Hey, okay, that's cool that you're talking about, for example, Jesus. Well, do you know about Sikhism?" Many of them say no. Religion for them actually, which is funny. And I have actually a funny story. I remember one time when I met some American Mormons here in Sweden, and
You,
they tried
you,
to
Gursimer,
yeah.
you broke up a little bit there. So you saw some Mormons from America.
Yeah,
Is it?
exactly.
Okay.
I met some American Mormons in Sweden here. They were like trying their best to speak Swedish as well. I was quite impressed. And they were trying, preach about Mormon religion. And I was like, hey, well, it's kind of cool. I mean, I never heard about so much about them. I mean, I'm fine to listen to them, but I will never consider to convert to their religion. But I'm a very open person and I listen to everyone. So therefore, I listen to these guys what they were telling. And again, I did the same thing when I asked them, do you know about Sikhism? They were saying no, never heard about it. I was surprised because it's the fifth largest religion. So I ended
Right.
up preaching about that. It felt like that I was the preacher, and they were like just on the ordinary people when they're supposed to be the preachers here. So yeah, it's actually funny, but I believe that having a dialogue with anyone you meet is very important today, because we should never ignore anyone. We should actually listen and have a dialogue with everyone. You don't necessarily need to adapt their way of life, but you could at least listen to it and
Indeed.
have a dialogue.
Indeed, indeed. You know, when I was in Sweden for Alt for Sverige, you know, and they were teaching us about the Swedish culture, you know, and these norms,
Oh yeah,
the concept of lagom and consensus and you know, all that stuff. And you know, my mind kept, as a Muslim, my mind kept going back to um, Islamic principles and
yeah,
how I saw similarities and even in the bathrooms. It's so funny. Throughout Sweden, I mean, in the airport, even it was like the bathrooms were completely private. They were the public
mm,
bathrooms. The doors went all the way to the floor. It was like everything was private. There was modesty. It was and in America, it's like, man, they got like stalls open, and man, you just need to hold it. You know, if you wanna, if you
yeah,
wanna go, you gotta wait till you get home.
yeah.
But you know, and I thought, wow, that's a very Islamic principle
I've
of
gone.
modesty. You know, and so I can really, my point of saying that is that I can really relate to you
Yeah,
and what you're saying. Now, what do you, tell us a little bit what you do for a living and you know any educational background.
yeah. So I actually work as IT technicians. I go to my clients and fix and repair their computers, basically. I also work as I said earlier, as a lecturer, giving lectures to uh, students in different schools in Sweden, where I talk actually about my background, how it's being a Sikh in this modern society, Sweden. Um, I'm engaged in lots of organizations. I also work as I don't know how to say. I work as a lay judge in the Swedish court. Do you know what a lay judge is?
No, no, tell us about it.
Well, it's even called German in English. It's like basically a bunch of people as a jury in a court, right?
Ah, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So you have like I don't know, 15 or 20 people who's like sitting in that court who's gonna together with the judge, the perpetrator. So in Sweden, we actually have three of those juries um, together with a judge, because three of us doesn't have education in the Swedish justice system, but the judge has. But we three jury people, we have one vote, as a matter of fact. So basically, I I I'm affecting one person's life. Like
Mm.
I have given a person sentenced to prison, for example. I have given a person sentenced to paying what do you call it? Um,
Restitution or fees,
yeah,
a
yeah,
fine,
exactly.
a fine maybe.
A fine, exactly. Yeah, such things. So together with the other two juries and the judge, we all together we um, judge the perpetrator for his or her crimes. So that's what I do.
Is this Gursimer? Is this this jury? Uh, I we call it jury duty
Yeah.
here in the U.S. Right? Is this jury duty that you have? Is this something that they call you for at random, or do you have a schedule?
No, this is the where it comes the difference between the Swedish and the American justice system, because this Swedish system, you get nominated. You could get nominated by this. You get nominated by the Swedish political parties, which is very strange, actually. However, you don't need to actually be political active at all. You just only tell them that you want to become a jury man or whatever you call it. So you get nominated, and then it will those nominations will be sent to Swedish authorities, and they will randomly take someone who's like a good person without any criminal background, such things. But mainly they are actually searching for youths, because we don't have so many youths in the Swedish courts who's being with them and judging the perpetrators, because there's lots of elderly people sitting there, and that's a very huge problem, because many of them maybe have different unmodern thinking. I'm a youth and I have different thinking of for example, a person who's like over 6 years old. So that's why I'm one of the most. I'm one of the few youngest jurymen sitting in the Swedish court, actually, and I'm actually proud, because again, I'm also very unique, because I'm one of the very. I think just in my court, we have different courts in Sweden. We have the southern Stockholm. We have one court where I work, and I believe I think I'm the only young Swedish person guy with a foreign background. Actually,
How old are you, Gursimer?
I'm 22 year old.
Man, you're a baby.
Yeah, I'm young. Yeah, but I would say that my mind is very like a 30-year-old man.
That's right.
I'm very mature for my age, actually.
You are indeed. I thought
So
you
yeah,
were much older.
yeah. Then it says that. Yeah.
It must be the beard.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, the beard now.
Keep that beard, brother. Keep it.
Yeah, no.
So tell us a little bit about how your religion, the things that it has in common with the Swedish culture, and maybe even how it applies to your thinking when you're in a jury.
You mean the similarities between Sikhism and the Swedish justice system?
Sure, that's not exactly what I'm saying, but let's do that. If
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, there's lots of similarities, because first of all, we believe in equality. That is one important core in our religion, and also that I would say that Sikhism doesn't like people who abuse people or taking advantage of people. For example, there's lots of people like for example, men who rape women or children. That's
Mm.
like the worst crime ever in Sikhism. However, in Sweden, sometimes, to be honest, we kind of have quite lame punishments. I mean, you get more punishment if you download a movie than a person who rapes a woman, for example. I mean, that's bizarre, actually, and I
You
cannot
get
accept
wait.
such things.
You broke up a little bit there. You get more punishment if what at
Oh, where did I broke up?
when you said you get more punishment if you do something, almost trivial compared to, sexual assault.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, if you download a movie, you get more punishments than if you sexual assault a woman, for example.
Wow. All right.
And again, that is quite bizarre, because how could we have that? And those principles are going against my religion. I cannot accept a person get less punishment because he's raping a woman and gets only like maybe 1 year, or sometimes it can happen they get free, they get released by the Swedish court,
Wow.
and that's sickening, because also some reports from a special police. I've heard that it was happening that some underage girls were prostituting themselves, and there's only 2 or 3 Swedish police officers who work against that in the whole country, and that's kind of sickening actually, because like 2, 3 cops be that so little resources are being taken against this child prostitution, and I'm very shocked.
Wow. It sounds like a Sweden generally prides itself on uh, you know, being just and fair to women, and that very much contradicts that concept.
Yeah, exactly, because it's kind of hypocrisy that Sweden is portrayed as a very women a good country for women and children, but in honest way, I wouldn't directly say it's because many women get sexual assaults, and there's very little of doing against that, and that's very wrong because we have written done lots of human rights conventions that we should protect women, and many women who lives in other culture, for example, which that's the field I'm actually working on lots of, where many women feel and even boys as well feeling fear of their parents or the culture system. For some
Mm.
people who lives in honor culture where they cannot get married to whoever they want, or
Yeah.
they cannot be homosexual, for example. That's
Mm.
very scary because, again, how could we talk so much about equality but never focus on these people who lives in fears? Nobody's talking about them.
Mm. Indeed.
And
So,
I have
yeah, go ahead.
and I personally raised this question with lots of politicians and even ministers as well. I'm constantly because I'm politically active in Social Democrats, which is the ruling party in the government right now.
Mm.
So I constantly have a dialogue with lots of politicians in Sweden and talking about these issues, especially about the honor culture.
Yeah, that's is that something that the opposition party, the Sweden demo, the Sveriges Demokraterna, is this something they're bringing up? Is saying, see, this is why we can't have these immigrants because they're bringing their honor killings and making our society savage.
Yeah, it is true actually, and many Sweden Democrats and other races are taking advantage of this. Not just only that, they are also talking about that immigrants are raping women and such things. But that is not true. I have actually ordered lots of uh, fines and giving prison to Swedish ethnical men to prison because they are sexual assaulting women. And
Swedish,
again,
you judged on what group of people, what type of people was that you said?
I have taken, I have judged people who are Swedish ethnical men uh, who are sexual assault women in the Swedish court.
So
And
you mean
to just
when you say Swedish ethnic, you mean white Swedes?
exactly because yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
okay,
I
okay.
understand that in America you use lots of skin colors, but
Yeah, we
we're
everything
not.
is color in America, man.
Yeah,
Color, guns, and cars, man.
yeah,
We're just
exactly.
crazy over here.
Yeah, yeah. We are not very used to actually use skin color that much, but
That's right,
I usually use it in many international uh, talkings,
and that's
Uh,
fine. Yeah, that's
yeah,
great. That's
and
great. Please, I'm
just
not trying to change you at all. I just wasn't.
yeah,
I just wanted to
no,
make
no,
sure I was clear what you were saying.
yeah, yeah, no, no, it's okay. But just to be clear, also, many white men in Sweden, there are actually many of them sexually assault Asian women. Actually, that's like nobody's talking about it. And I actually made some statistics where I'm actually trying to write a report about it. I'm not done with it yet, so it's kind of, unofficial things I'm saying right now. But yeah, it's fine. So many Asian women who I know and I have talked to, many of them feel like they are being sexually assaulted by Swedish men. But at the same time, Sweden Democrats, those racists or nationalists, they're talking about that immigrants sexually assault white women. But how can you like talk about that and forget about the rest? What about the white men's sexual assaults against immigrant women? Like nobody's talking about that.
What I mean, this is just an amazing hustle that they're pulling on the people.
Yeah. Again,
Um,
everything is about votes. That's what it's about.
that's right. That's right. That's right. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those people that are leaving for I've read about some people leaving some political parties to join the this Nazi party.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if, from what you said, I'm wondering if they're doing it because they're like, man, I don't want anyone to find out the crimes that I've committed.
Yeah. Many choose to vote Sweden Democrats because mainly they are like disappointed at other parties. We sometimes call Sweden Democrats as a disappointing party, like party for the disappointed people.
So yeah, now these Sveriges Demokraterna, Jimmy Åkesson, right?
Yeah.
Uh, what what are these people? I mean, what I mean, are they just turning up the heat? Are you being called, nigger and go back to India and all kinds of stuff? I mean, what's the climate out there now? Because they're starting to rise up. They're starting to get more seats in the parliament, right?
Yeah, yeah. The right wings in Europe are actually increasing, but at the same time, I will also say they're decreasing. I mean, UKIP, for example, lost one seat in the British Parliament, for example.
Hmm.
But if we go back to Sweden Democrats, well, basically, if we look at the top, the leaders in Sweden Democrats, for example, Jimmy Åkesson, he's the kind of person who get away with lots of things. I mean, for example, he could he's very good to talk. Many people say that he's good to talk, and I can also agree that he's good to talk. He has a good rhetoric voice and such things. But then again, he has some hidden agenda because his agenda is to get rid of so many immigrants as well. But he's if we compare to like older Nazis, he's like a modern version of them because he have understood that you cannot just call anyone for bad words against some people or like use hatred. So he's a tricky guy and he's quite smart because what he's doing is that he's basically trying to make Sweden Democrat as just a normal party. Like they're trying to tell the Swedish people, oh, we are very left of us. We take care of. We want to take care of the elderly Swedish people. We want to take care of the Swedish welfare state and such things. But that's not great because they have supported the right wing parties for many times now, and the right wing party Moderaterna is now wanna uh, collaborate with the Sweden Democrats. That's very shocking news to hear that the right wing party want to work with the Sweden Democrats, and because of that, many of the Moderaterna have lost lots of their voters actually. But those who vote for Sweden Democrats are basically most are white people, yes. Most are also working class people, and I will also say that there's lots of, unfortunately, many immigrants voting for the Sweden Democrats, or people who born here with foreign background. That's mostly of them are first or second generation of immigrants who's voting for them. It's very sad
Why?
because out of
What
it.
are they? What are these these first or second generation immigrants to Sweden? What is their justification for voting for Jimmy Åkesson's party?
Well, many of them are like tired what's happening in the Swedish suburbs. Many of them also are quite hates Muslims, for example. They don't like refugees, for example. Many of those who votes for Sweden Democrats are actually from Poland, for example. Many are from some parts of Middle East with a Christian background, for example, the Syrian Orthodox Christians, for example. Um, Many of them who votes for them. And again, it's lots of Islamophobia. That's why they voting for these parties in Sweden.
And
Um,
okay, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
And so you just mentioned something interesting, and you said, you know, they're tired of what's happening in the suburbs. Okay, so in the United States, generally, the city is the rough place, and the suburbs are kind of the peaceful place. So what are you talking about? They're tired of what's happening in the suburbs.
Yeah, I forgot the differences between Sweden and America. It's correct there. It's actually opposite here in Sweden. In our suburbs, it's actually much more worse than the city because the whole middle class people and upper class they are living in the cities, and it's quite peaceful. I would say in the suburbs it's different. I don't I don't say it's. Of course, we should never ever uh, reduce the problems we have, reduce the situation in the suburbs. Because yes, it's true we have lots of problems in the suburbs, but I don't believe that you should blame everything on the next generation. Like you're telling people that the suburbs is the worst thing ever happens in Sweden, but that's not true. There's many good examples of good people and good role models coming out from the suburbs. I mean, heck, I'm from suburbs. I was born in the suburbs. I was living in the suburbs in all my life. I'm not a bad person. I'm not a criminal. But what is happening is that some people making assumptions that every person who is from the suburbs are criminals. That is not true. But then again, we should never forget that there is, of course, lots of problems in suburbs that we need to deal with. But we can never deal with using like fake rumors or using populism, for example. Like, for example, Donald Trump is used in Sweden as an example. Look at what's happened last night in Sweden, for example.
Yeah, that was so funny when I heard him say that. I was just like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
And he gets away with it. He gets
Yeah,
away
again,
with it.
I would say most of those right-wing parties, even Sweden Democrats, they can say exactly whatever they want. I mean, can say the worst racist things, but he would get away with it. That's the most funny part of it. He does never get affected of what his words say. Like he can say any kind of racist words ever, but he will never lose any votes, and that is very strange.
Do you feel like do you feel threatened personally? Do you feel that I mean, you're born there, but
Yeah.
do you feel like there's a chance that you're going to be removed from the country?
No, in their agenda, the Swedish Democrats' agenda, it's not their agenda to get rid of people who is born here with a foreign background. Their agenda is mostly just decrease the immigration into Sweden. I'm not feeling threatened at all. Maybe if it was a Nazi, as a really Nazi party, because Sweden Democrats has decreased with their Nazi propaganda. Again, as I say, they're trying to be a normal party in front of everyone's eyes. Um, but what I would say is that I feel worried in in the way many people with a foreign background is treated here in Sweden. Like many. that people with a foreign background are feeling like insecure, like they're feeling they are like criminals just because they look different, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And is it do have you personally witnessed an increase of, you know, hate crimes or hateful speech in public directed to you or friends that you're with?
Well, it depends on. If you're talking about my early school time or right now,
Compare. Okay, so you're 22, you said, right?
yeah, yeah.
So let's go from high school to now. So look at that range from high school, you know, you were what, 16? Let's go age 16 up to now. Do you think things have relatively stayed the same? They're getting worse, or they're getting better for non-white Swedes? Uh,
Okay, I get it. Yes, of course, and there's a very good reason for that because we had the opposition coalition government alliance with all those right wing parties and middle wing parties joined to get a coalition, and because of their tax politics and their right wing politics, it actually segregated people very much more. I mean, literally, and it's just in Stockholm, the segregation is increasing very fast in the whole Europe. So I would always say it's more like it's. I mean, it feels like an apartheid. To be honest with you, all the white Swedes are living for themselves in nice places, in middle class places, and all those who are non-white, working class people are living in the suburbs with like worst conditions ever. So yes, the segregation is increasing rapidly actually, and that's very sad because when it occurs such segregation, it also occurs lots of stereotypes and prejudice like, towards different groups in the society.
in Badin, in The Secret of the Saami, you see a child and a man who looks different and is scrutinized by Swedish society much more than anyone else. In the prequel mini saga Mirror, and some other 18th century paintings that include Badin, we see Badin in a turban, similar to Gursimer's picture. This is a sign of humility and nobility, but not as in a caste system. Rather, it is of righteousness and thoughtfulness of others. Sweden has recently been commended as one of the best countries in the world for immigrants. That is, according to U.S. News and World Report. Compared to the United States, which is ranked at 7th place, that should open one's eyes to the new reality of greatest nations on the earth. However, some Swedes find the reality disturbing, while others feel proud. As we heard Gursimer explain, immigrants in Sweden, and those Swedes like him who were born to immigrants in Sweden, are being unjustly blamed for problems in Swedish society. Swedes of foreign backgrounds and the indigenous Saami face terrific discrimination and are often locked out of opportunities in which they could blossom and with their talents bring mutual benefit to society. Although the historical Badin lived 200 years ago, he, like many other Swedes of foreign background during that time, paved a way for young men and women like Gursimer Singh to do their part in making Sweden a better place for those who live in it. You've been listening to part 1 of an insightful interview I had with Swedish network technician, activist, and lay jury member Gursimer Singh. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss part 2. All social networking links and more information is at www.badinsecret.com. Last but not least, support this October book tour in Sweden. Eric needs to raise 14,000 US dollars to order books and pay for travel expenses as he goes throughout the country for that month. By the way, that's me. I'm Eric. And every contribution will get you a free digital PDF of Badin and the Secret of the Saami. For more information and to see other rewards, go to gofundme.com/BadinSecret. The Badin and the Secret of the Saami podcast is produced and edited by yours truly. Theme music by Shamis Hasanov. Be something greater than yourself. Peace.